What I love about this bread is you basically just take all the ingredients, mix them together, and let it sit for about an hour and then bake it. It is foolproof, it is delicious, and it really comes out looking very good. So let's do it together. Some breads you have to be very, very accurate with the measurement of the flour to the water. But this one, you're basically just making a very sticky dough. And so a little bit more flour versus a little bit less really will be okay. Now, like I do with most of my bread recipes, I'm not actually following exactly. I'm showing you how good it can turn out even when you don't follow the instructions. But the instructions technically say to mix the water and the yeast together first and then add everything in. I'm just gonna dump it all together and then mix it, and you're still gonna see it turn out really, really good. I'm gonna put my yeast in. Now adding in the salt. I am gonna give the dry ingredients a little bit of a stir just to get that yeast incorporated in. Now, when it comes to adding water, pardon the broken tea kettle, when it comes to adding water to your bread, always make sure that you can stick your finger in and it is not too hot. If you put your finger in the water and you go, ouch, too hot, it will probably kill your yeast. So warm water, not too hot, not too cold will not activate the yeast, is just right. And once you've got your flour, your salt, your yeast, and your water in there, give it a good mix. It will be sticky. That is good. We want a sticky dough. And this is what it looks like after you have mixed it all together. You can see it is very, very sticky. Now take some plastic wrap, cover the bowl, and let it sit in a warm place for 45 minutes up to 2 hours, depending on how warm your kitchen is. I usually go about an hour, and you just want to make sure that you see the dough about double in size. I'm going to explain really quick why we do plastic wrap if you are not used to doing any kind of bread baking, because usually if I don't know the reason why we do things, I'll forget it, or I'll just think it's not important enough and I have to learn the hard way. So the reason why we cover it with plastic wrap is so that the dough stays nice and moist. If you do not do that, it could dry out and have like a little bit of a hard, crusty top over the top, which you do not want. So if you don't have plastic wrap, you can instead get yourself a dish towel, get it nice and damp, squeeze all the excess water out, and then cover your dough with that. And that will help to keep the bread dough nice and moist. Now it has been about an hour and my dough has approximately doubled in size. So I'm going to turn my oven on to 450 degrees. But before I do, I'm going to put my Dutch oven into my oven so that it could warm up all together. That's really important so that when your bread is ready to go into, or your dough is ready to go into the Dutch oven is very hot and it'll help that bread to spring up. A cold Dutch oven will not allow that bread to get that initial burst of growth. And so it's gonna be a little bit more dense and not as enjoyable. Still delicious, but not as great. Don't worry if you don't have a Dutch oven because you can use a regular oven-safe pan. Wow, that's noisy. Hey, buddy. Yeah, can you throw it away, please? Thank you.
Ma.
I'll see ya. Shoo, shoo, bye.
Bye.
What was I saying? If you don't have a Dutch oven, don't worry. You can use a regular oven-safe pan and use 2 of these because you're going to be making 2 loaves of bread and put them in the oven, just as you would with the Dutch oven. Now, to recreate the humid environment that baking bread in a Dutch oven creates, you are going to put another vessel of some oven-safe variety into your oven full of water. And that water, as everything bakes, the water is going to steam up in your oven and give you the same kind of steamy bath of, steam. I don't know, my kids keep interrupting me and I'm not thinking straight. But it's gonna create a similar environment that a Dutch oven will give you. Won't be exactly the same. You're gonna see the difference between the 2 because I only have the 1 Dutch oven and I'm gonna use 1 pan and I will be doing the watery thing, so let's go do that. I've got my pan full of water that's going in on the bottom rack. When your oven is preheated, take a little bit of flour, dust it onto some parchment papers, and you're going to take your dough and plop it onto one of the parchment papers. Divide it into, okay, I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but that's, you know what? This is an imperfect process, that's fine. Once they are on your parchment paper, then you wanna take your spoon, turn, let's just dig in, turn the sides up and pinch them to make a little bit of a seam, and then take the seam and turn it upside down so that you don't see it. Now that my oven is preheated, I'm going to take out the Dutch oven and my other pan and then lower the dough right in. Get that lid on. Ooh, get the lid on really quick. I set my oven to 30 minutes, and after 30 minutes, I'm going to take the top off of the Dutch oven and then let it cook for another 10. And this is gonna create a beautiful, crusty exterior on that bread. It is almost done, so let's let it have the last 14 seconds. We'll take it out, and then we're gonna compare the difference between the Dutch oven bread and the regular skillet bread. On the left is the Dutch oven bread. And on the right is the cast iron skillet bread. The Dutch oven dough definitely had more of a spring in the initial bake time because you can see how it broke through the top and started to crack. And it just looks more artisan. But you know what? Either way you slice it, no pun intended, this bread looks amazing and is going to be delicious. So now I'm going to let the bread cool for about 30 minutes. Cooling is very important when it comes to baking bread. I know you want to dig in and it looks delicious and it smells amazing and you're hungry and you have butter, but let it cool because it's still steaming on the inside of the bread. And if you cut into it now, it's going to have a gummy, undercooked interior. And then you could still salvage it by toasting the slices, but it's still not as good as if you would have just been a little patient and waited. So the Dutch oven bread and the bread baked in the pan, almost completely identical. This one is just a little bit springier. But that is it. It is so simple. Like I said, you mix the ingredients, let it sit, bake it, and it is done. I hope you enjoy.